professionalism at every stage.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And to celebrate the opening of A World to Win, let's give the artists a round of applause. So we're really so lucky to be joined today by Rivka, Valérie, Louissaint, and Ian Matchett, who are the artists who made these incredible works of art that you're seeing here today. And we're gonna have a conversation tonight about the works, about what it means to be making work in today's moment. And we're really excited to be in conversation and to keep this revolutionary work and artwork and conversation about artwork today going. So just to introduce myself, for those of you who I don't know, I'm Hannah Craig. I coordinate the art space at the People's Forum, the Elizabeth Catlett art space at the People's Forum. And this art exhibition that we're putting on this February at the People's Forum is really special because it celebrates and kind of kicks off our celebration of the 175 years since the publishing of the Communist Manifesto. Yeah. And this exhibition, Rivka and Ian's artwork is really a celebration of international working class struggles, which of course is so incredibly connected to the Communist Manifesto and what it means for international movements. And this work also ferociously proposes a new world, and not only celebrates and recognizes history, but also connects with the work that we're doing today, what's present, and also how we build the future. The exhibition really breathes life into many aspects of struggle through a recognition of history, and it fuels what we're working on today. So I want to just introduce these two artists. I know we've had a chance, some of us, to talk to the artists already, but to give a full introduction to their work and how we ended up where we are today. So Ian Matchett is a queer socialist Midwestern painter, raised in West Michigan, attended UM Ann Arbor, and graduated in political science and studio art in 2014. He lives in Detroit and is a founder of the Brick and Mortar Collective and the Michigan Student Power Network, and directs Swords into Plowshares Peace Center and Gallery. And his work focuses on, as you see, the use of history, art, and memory as tools for social change.
Sounds like we sit out.
And Rivka, Valérie Louissaint, also known as Kaku, is a Haitian cultural worker currently based in Oakland, California. Their practice includes mixed media, visual work, writing, performance art, education, and building as a community organizer. Rivka is an MFA graduate of the UC Berkeley Art Practice Department and a 2022-2023 Gerard Martin postdoctoral fellow at the University of San Francisco. And their work interrogates structures and systems while envisioning our socialist future. So let's give them a round of applause. So we wanna have a conversation and be able to talk a little bit more about this work, not only the works that are here, but also the way that you two see the way that we can make art today, how we're seeing the moment that we're in and building our work. So I want to start by just opening it up for you to talk a little bit more about your practices, especially what historically and currently has impacted your work and what influenced the pieces in this show in particular.
So is it open?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it. So our practice, my practice is very much rooted in my role as an organizer, but also as an immigrant person, a Black woman, a queer person, a working class person. And I've been trying to interpret, react, critique, and bring to consciousness certain things. So I try to use my work and my artwork as a tool to talk about these things, to either explore oppression, exploitation, things that I've experienced, but also looking at it not just from my own perspective, but looking at it through the root of the system that is causing for this experience that could be very personal to me to be something that other people are also experiencing. I've gone back and forth to try to figure out how to use my work as a tool. I love this quote that I recently learned through organizing with you and doing the art study is like, art doesn't change the world, and art changes people that changes the world. And I really love that because it makes me think about like, how do I use my art to help people make connections, to understand like the non-lineage of the struggle, how to bring together, especially in these pieces, these different struggles that may have happened in different time and space, but putting them together in a way that people can see them as a continuous flow. My partner often says that we are but the tip of the wave of change. And so I think of my work as like building the wave, like the connection of the wave, but also challenging us to imagine what future could look like outside of capitalism.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I feel like that's so present in the work that we see here tonight. I mean, so much of it is historical and recognizing the importance of history and these different figures. There are so many people that we see in all of these works that are historical and that we've read books about or in this exhibition that are paired with books. But it doesn't feel stuck in the past. It feels like there's this wave to push and use that historical knowledge to build on the future.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, like it was really important, especially in this pieces, for me to put people that I've organized with before, currently struggles like the Black Lives Matter movement that really popped off in 2020, put that as a current so that we could see the lineage of that from the civil rights movement, from the Black Panther movement, the Young Lords, the Brown Berets, and just seeing it as like a continuation, building for and pushing for change, and not something that is separate from it. Yeah.
Amazing. Ian, do you want to share a little bit more about your practice?
It's hard to follow that. But I think for me, there's like why I initially started making things, and there's like what I've come to understand about why I make them. I think like initially I was drawn to creating images of leftists and revolutionaries that I was reading about, that I was studying, that I respected, and that was sort of like an instinctual like, that feels good. And I think as I've reflected more on it, like why did I become obsessed with that? Why did I become obsessed with painting images that have already been made in some ways, like photographs of past revolutionaries, and then doing that alongside like images of my comrades today. And I think for me, there's this big gap that I started to feel in my life between like the way we treated revolutionaries of the past as sort of these saints, these people who came from on high. Lenin always knew what he was doing and brought us truth, and that was the only reason the revolution happened, is because the right person was perfect. And the way we talk about our comrades today, which is like, God, I fucking hate Steve. He doesn't. He doesn't show up at meetings. I always argue with him, and his analysis is shit. And you know, Steve might be super important to our meeting and our group, and we should probably like recognize and understand Steve more complexly, and we should probably understand Lenin more complexly, also as a human, as a real person who lived and breathed. And so I think my work is often very much this like reaching back and reaching around to try to like reaching around. But I said I was a queer Midwestern artist. But yeah, like this sort of idea of finding the humanity of the past and bringing that into the present so that we can actually empathize with the past as opposed to just venerate it. And then a way to like lift up the people that I see around me. Like I've painted friends who no one else really knows in the movement. And I put like 250 hours into like a 6-foot tall painting of them and put it up in front of people, and they're like, who the hell is this person? I'm like, oh yeah, they organized this demonstration, they organized this. Like it's a way to literalize the importance of somebody to our community, I think. And like, there's a lot of reasons people make art, a lot of reasons, but I think for me, that's where I see like oil painting as a sort of archaic, time-intensive, one-piece medium connecting with revolutionary struggles. It's a way for me to show people how important their friends are, how important our comrades are, honor that effort, and then allow those people to see themselves, to like be recognized in their own lifetimes, not after they're dead, not like when they're old, but like today. A lot of old comrades also deserve recognition. But yeah, I just playing like really that tension in that gap and trying to bring those two groups together, humanize the past and like valorize the present.
Thank you so much. I mean, very interesting, and so many connections between the way that you kind of approach your practices. Even though this exhibition is the first time that you're coming together and having your work shown together, and tomorrow we'll be, leading a workshop together. So it's interesting because the way that, even though you didn't collaborate on work, there's a similar approach, or the way that you're kind of envisioning what it means to make work. Which leads to the next question, which is about how you see the connection between art and culture and struggle. And this is a big question, and I think it's one that the three of us have been talking about a lot in the last couple of months. But I'm curious now, in your, seeing this work, thinking of having these conversations, the way you see these connections right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I can start this one. Yeah, I mean, I think that the way I see the moment politically right now is that the United States working class has begun to understand itself again as working class in a way that hasn't really happened for the last 25, 30 years. Like the idea of being a worker was somehow like dirty or like something you wanted to leave. And I think more and more people, because of the way our society is structured, are A, being forced to stay in that role. They can't escape. They can't go somewhere else. They can't get the like upper paying job. And B, they're finding pride in that identity. And I think that sort of is like a really powerful moment. And I see a potential role for artwork in that is helping us understand our own history and kind of reconstitute a proletarian vision of ourselves like as a class for itself. And I think that's where I see like kind of my artwork as like intervening, as like we have this shared history. We have this shared history of struggle and victory and pain and loss and victory again. And I think that's something you can get from a book. Some people can read a book and that's what they get out of it, is like, I'm part of this movement. But I think seeing those people and seeing their community represented, and represented not just like as a face on a wall, but as a face that's standing for something and that is pushing for something better. That's where I see art has a role in really kind of helping us reconstitute, like at least here in the United States, a working class movement that's revolutionary and building towards the future.
Do you have thoughts too?
Lost my mic there for a minute. Yeah, just to add on to that, I think about popular culture and how basically the ideology of the bourgeois and the elite is like permeating through culture. And you hear a lot of music, like popular music, that's like, I want to be a boss and not like a worker, or like they uplift being an entrepreneur and not really, and very much devaluing being a worker. And I try to use my work as a way to kind of like bring those contradictions to the surface of like, no, most people who are consuming these things are worker, and workers make the world run. And so I try to push against the like, this like, I guess you would say like this push to want to be part of the to have the bourgeois ideology and wanting to fight to be an entrepreneur and so on. And so that's how I think the work that I'm doing right now can uplift a lot of working people. I think COVID really made a lot of people see that a lot of the jobs that we didn't value or consider like skilled labor were what was essential during COVID. And so you really realize how important workers are. I teach, and oftentimes my students would say things like, well, if we push back, the capitalists will stop making stuff. And I would ask them like, well, if you order something from Amazon, does Jeff Bezos go to the factory and make it? Or like, do they go in the car and they drive it to your house? But like, who are the people who are making it? And also who benefit from the money that you're spending, not the workers, right? And so I think helping people to make that connection in the right here and right now is what I'm really pushing forward my art, of kind of like really bringing to the surface, actually like examining the ideology that is already out there and being critical of it, but also giving an alternative to what to think about and how to think about yourself in relationship to power and in relationship to culture and relationship to being part of a community. And I think that's by understanding the history of the struggle of the different people who put their stuff on the line to push for us to have access to things like healthcare, education, housing. For me, a Haitian woman, to be able to be here right now, like I think about that a lot and thinking about how, for me, like my first experience in art was looking at murals in Haiti talking about the different struggles. And so for me, that's why I think it's important to make art right now, is like bringing to the surface the contradictions, but also giving people a different narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. And and it continues on, right? Like I think that's, I want to, for our kind of final round of these questions, I think that it gets to this question of how it is that we move forward, what it is that we move forward into in the future. You know, there's all of these reasons why we're building work in the way that we are right now, and your work is a reflection of the times and, like you were saying, the kind of moment that we've found ourselves in. But I'm curious, you know, we kind of have an understanding of the current moment, and based on this moment now, where it is that you're going next? What is the next work that you're kind of envisioning making? Or do you have any projects that you're working on now that you're excited about, that that you're kind of looking forward to continuing and thinking about how it works as time goes on?
Oh yeah, for sure. I can go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm like, I was recently having this conversation about working in multiple things at once. So I have this body of work that I'm working on that's trying to envision a future after capitalism. Imagining a future that is sustainable, where human can live in symbiosis with nature, where it's not exploitative, but it's cooperative. And so I'm trying to imagine that and create a vision of that. And that came about just like reading different science fiction and watching different science fiction shows where it's all doom and gloom, or it's like a dystopia. Like there's, you know, like we have a lot of technology and everything, but, you know, poverty is still there. People are still, you know, like, there's still, people can't have access to resources that they need. And so I was thinking, like, what would it be like if we could imagine a future where we solve these issues? Like, we are the one who are making the laws. We are the one, well, not us, but like people are making the laws, and people are doing construction and building society. Like, what if we did build a society that put the needs of people instead of like profit? And so I'm trying to do that. And I have to say it's been a challenge to kind of imagine. I've had a professor who was like, well, even Marx didn't imagine what the future would be like. And I'm like, yeah, that's true, but maybe we are in a developed enough place with enough technology where we could see, like, how would it be if we applied them in a way that would be for the benefit of all people and not just a few. And so I'm trying to challenge myself to bring that into the light or have at least a body of work that will allow people to see an alternative vision of the future that is different than what we're taught to think about. I also like teach young people who have a very nihilistic understanding of the future, and they think that it's doom and gloom, and they have to just accept it and be ready for like the zombie apocalypse. And then I'm trying to kind of push back against it and saying, like, well, you know, the future is not set in stone. What happened if you act right now? What happened if we take those action? What happened if we, you know, make policies that actually benefit the earth and people together. And I think, as always, it's going to be challenged to imagine something that's not there. But I think we have enough examples, like Cuba, we have enough examples of what has been done already that we can build upon. And that's what I'm trying to bring into my artwork. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so ready to see it.
I'm excited to see it too.
Yeah, no, so I have not tired of painting my comrades yet, so I'm gonna keep doing that for quite a while. I've been doing more present day organizers, larger scale work than some of the stuff that's here. And yeah, I've got like a painting of Marion Kramer that I'm working on. And so yeah, trying to dig more into local Detroit history, Detroit revolutionaries. I think right now, as far as like forward-looking stuff, a little bit of it is organizing as opposed to just art, or I guess the intersection of the two, very literally. So with Swords into Plowshares, I've been putting a fair amount of energy into our political artist meetups. So that's like gathering self-identified political artists from the area, not necessarily politicized like specifically Marxist-Leninist or anything like that, but just sort of like left of Democrat folks. And having folks meet up and talking about like what it means to be an artist in a capitalist world. And like some folks are like all the way there. Some folks are like, I've got a lot of questions about how I get paid in the short term. And sort of building up a little of that community of practice, so it's not like a series of individuals who've read Marx or who've read one of their favorite lefty art critics, then all having to find the solutions by themselves. And so that's where I've been putting a lot of my like kind of like, I guess, future-looking energy is like, let's gather some other comrades together and like give folks some more tools to build better artwork beyond, I guess, just my own canvases.
Amazing. And I'm so glad that the two of you were able to be together in the same space here, because I feel like there's so much more to do in terms of bringing ourselves together, bringing artists together to continue to build these movements and to work together and collaborate and find ways to show and envision what it is that we can build together.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for celebrating the opening of A World to Win. This show will be open until May, and so there's lots of time for folks to join. If you're joining online, we're excited to welcome you into the space as well. And so I just want to say too that tomorrow Rivka and Ian will be doing this workshop in the art space in the People's Forum from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. and you can RSVP online if you're interested in attending. It's going to be a really, really great workshop. And as always, there is programming through the Elizabeth Catlett Printmaking Studio and Art Space. And we're excited to be announcing some printmaking workshops in March and lots more activities, including artist residencies, coming through the rest of this year. So lots to look forward to. Enjoy the rest of your time in the space. Enjoy some refreshments and take some more looks at the works before you go. And we're gonna all be around here so we can continue the conversation and ask more questions as they come up. Thank you so much.
Well, and thank you
Yes.
for pulling this all together. Like that's applaud Hannah.
Thank you, Hannah, for bringing us together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it.